Welcome pilots, my name is Hybrid V and we're back once again to watch your takeoff and landings, this time here at Lorville as the sun is slowly coming up and I am now diving through the thoroughfares and all the traffic here. This is your first time watching this show. This is where I fly around local spaceports, in this case Tisa Spaceport here on Hurston, and I rate people coming and going. All players coming and going from the spaceport will get a rating out of 10. And what we are looking for on the show is how cinematic someone's takeoff or landing is. And what do I mean by cinematic? I mean something you'd see in a movie or even other types of sci-fi media. So let's break that down real quick. If somebody is taking off, they need to not hesitate when they take off. When they leave their hangar, there's no hesitation whatsoever. Everything is all done in a nice smooth motion. As well as soon as they're off the ground, they raise their landing gear and they use their VTOLs appropriately. Now, in Star Citizen, you don't need those types of systems in place. You don't need to have VTOLs or your gear. You could just leave everything default and just take off immediately. It does not matter. However, like I said, we are rating cinematics. For takeoff, it's almost the same there. We're looking for people who are not hesitating. They are smoothly making their way into their hangar, and right before they touch the ground, they pull their gear out, and they also need to use proper VTOL on their way in as well. So minimal hesitation, good gear implementation, and good VTOL usage, right? This is incredibly important for a cinematic look when you're landing. Now, of course, like I said, in Star Citizen, when you're landing, as long as you have your gear down and you don't explode, that is a good landing. But for our purposes here in watching your takeoff and landings, we're going to see who, when they're being secretly watched, is going to pull off a awesome cinematic takeoff or landing. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and cut the cameras here and stop wasting my fuel. And let's get straight to the first customer, shall we? Be right back. All right, we have what appears to be a vulture coming in. Vultures have been cursed, I should say, in the past, and this time around, I mean, we've seen in this season, vultures have actually really pulled themselves out of that gutter, so to speak, and now they are really coming back. Look at this vulture VTOL activation as my voice slightly cracks here, folks, because I am excited to see an actual vulture using VTOL. Also, you'll notice they came in diagonally because a vulture is very long, right? So coming in diagonally gives you a little bit more room. They also have their gear down as they came in slightly right before they came through that air shield. So that is an excellent usage. Now that almost looks like an auto land, but it is not. It is them correcting, and I can tell it's not an auto land because they're slightly off kilt, which, I mean, it works. Oh, now they're going to readjust themselves and kind of reapply and put themselves back into that center spot there. A little bit of lag as they kind of stab into the hangar a little bit there, but that was really good. That's exactly what we're looking for there, right? Like I said, vultures in the past have always got a bad rap because it's really hard because of how long they are. Oh, we got a hangar opening up here. But this pilot elected to come in diagonally. Also, somebody's landing in that hangar. But this pilot elected to come in diagonally, which gives them more room to work with as they came in. They were doing it horizontally as they came in rather than nosing in. Ah, it's an arrow. Look at that. We don't see too many arrows, and it's nice to see an actual arrow here today. I'll keep monitoring, but I kind of want to go back to the vulture there. And the vulture, yeah, diagonal, they use their VTOLs, right? And you can see that the VTOLs were on because you can see those blue flames coming at the top of where those panels are, so it gives them more control. Now this arrow pilot is pausing a little bit, which is not what we're looking for here. But yeah, then that vulture then lined themselves, brought themselves down. Now they were offset, so they had to reset themselves, and it's unfortunate. You're not always going to win all of them, but that is exactly what we're looking for. That would normally be a 10 out of 10 landing, minus being offset on the pad there. So that is going to be more of a 9 out of 10 right there for that vulture. Now, this arrow here has a lot of hesitation. It could be for any numerous reasons, not entirely certain. But again, remember, when you're landing, if you want to get higher points with our cinematic landings criteria here, you have to make sure that you have no hesitation as you're coming in. In this case, this arrow is just kind of hovering. Maybe they were adjusting their third-person camera, but it looks like they're trying to horizontally strafe downwards, which then requires the usage of the third-person camera, which can cause a lot of that hesitation. This is why I recommend, if you want to get better, do it in first person and just nose-in approach. It will make your life a lot easier. Gear has come up now. You can tell the gear was up because of the actual wing flaps coming up there tied to that animation with the gear, and a nice and smooth touchdown. Now, the gear deployment was right where I'd like to see it. So you can't really see it here, but there's generally an air shield that blocks where the door is closing there. Once you get past that air shield, that's when you should really deploy your gear up or down. And this pilot had elected to get pretty close to that air shield and then pull their gear up. really nice and really solid overall, but there was just that hesitation in the beginning, probably because they were messing with their third-person camera. So I will be docking points for that. So this person, let's see, not an early gear deployment originally. Oops, someone's coming in. Ah, we have a Hercules coming in. Yeah, so that person did a really good job, but there's a lot of hesitation, so I will give them an 8 out of 10. A lot of hesitation I have to take points away for. Everything else was fantastic, was solid. Now, of course, the arrow doesn't have VTOLs, so no need to talk about that there. It was just the gear deployment was right, spot on. They were nice and centered, and they had it controlled, but there was just way too much hesitation. This Hercules here is getting scanned by security. You can tell it's security because it has that gray and gold livery on it. I'm going to try to keep my distance because last thing I want is security to come and scam me. Funny thing is, like, security will scan any ship regardless, even if it doesn't have a cargo hold, including my ship. But a Hercules is an exact ship I would expect security to scan, so you can see, you know, good old Crusader security doing their job as he tries to hold position as the Hercules begins to move. And VTOL activation, that's exactly what we want to see. I'd like to see when as a ship comes to a slowdown and they need to either hover or maintain a lower speed to activate VTOLs, because that's exactly what you would see in any type of sci-fi media, right? You would see VTOLs be activated, not only because it looks cool, but you kind of expect it, right? You'd expect some kind of thrusters being pointed down, giving you more control. It just looks awesome, right? So we have the ship is coming in now, the C2, and it looks like it is coming in a nose-in approach. Security is still holding that angle. You can see the security is trying to avoid hitting the ground. Like I said in a previous version, that security AI has been improved, so they no longer... I was going to say they no longer crash into stuff, but that is Guardsman of the Year there, who completely proved me wrong. Gear is now activated as they come through the air shield a little bit too quick there. Be careful, but they do stick the landing. It actually came in a little soft. I would like to see it be a little bit more controlled than that. Doesn't have to be too aggressive, right, folks? We don't need to rush here. At the end of the day, you have all the time in the world. So long as it looks smooth, that's all that matters, right? But overall, really, really solid use there. They had the VTOLs active right where I'd like to see them. They did a nice in-nose approach, and they had it controlled, though. They went a little bit too fast, but they did also have the gear down right through that air shield. That is also going to be a solid 9. I'm tempted to give him kind of like a little bit of an 8 because there was some minor hesitation, but it wasn't enough for me to really be a little bit cross at it. I think it was really good. That's security. Oh, goodness. It's just the weird stuff you see here, you know, folks. Sometimes you don't even see it yourself as you come and land, right? That person did not even know that security just killed themselves. I guarantee you they didn't. It's just the weird stuff you see when you're just spectating Star Citizen and its normal habitat. All right, let's wait for the next customer, shall we? Okay, small hangar is opening up here. Let's go ahead, and I'm turning my engines on right now. I'm going to try to push my way on over and see if somebody's taking off or landing, and we do not see what appears to be a ship in the hangar. That does tell me somebody is coming in to land here. I don't want to get too close because I don't want to get in the way of whoever that could be. I don't want to spook them, nor do I want to get in their flight path. So I'm just going to hang back a little bit further out here, getting a nice view of the spaceport so I can see who that potentially is coming in. Now, the reason why I love Lorville is just look how open it is. It is incredibly open. The hangars are just right there in the center. It is impossible to miss. Also, the beautiful clouds as you come in are really cool. I mean, I'm beautiful to a degree. They're toxic as heck, as you can see with that brownish color. I also see what appears to be a gladius plume off to the right side of your screen there, folks. There appears to be a plume, and yes, indeed, it is a gladius coming in right there. Zoom on in, you can see the ATC in the distance there blinking with its big lights. Gear down very early, so this is something we don't want to see for a cinematic landing. We don't need gear deployments early. Also, nice timberline paint on that gladius, by the way. It's a really, really nice paint job. They're coming in horizontal. Everybody seems to be doing horizontal landings today, so I think everybody's just kind of doing a third-person bit here. It looks a little bit like this person is using some decoupled landing here. It's just the way they're moving screams decoupled to me. That also would explain why they would have their gear out quite early there. And touchdown. Nice and smooth, but you can see how offset they were, right? So they were offset. So we have early gear deployment, a little bit of minor hesitation as they came in, probably because, again, they were adjusting. It seemed to be like they were decoupled, and they needed to kind of adjust their vector halfway through. And then also they came in offset. That was really buttery smooth, but they came in slightly offset there. Could definitely be better, but it still looked really good. And I would give that an 8. That's definitely, yeah, a solid 8 out of 10 in my cinematics overview here. And I'm hearing something take off. What do we got here? Ah, it looks to be... apologize here, folks. I'm trying to get my camera to behave here. It looks like we have a Pisces of some description taking off here. See if I can zoom in. You can see them contrailing as they head off into the distance. Good day, sir. Now, of course, I did not see the entire takeoff sequence there, so I'm not going to give this individual a rating, though it is always nice to watch people come and go anyway, so I kind of want to give you guys that look up. But yeah, Gladius looking very good there. Could improve a little bit more. Remember, folks, if you decide to vector land, it does mean you have to pull your gear out a little bit early, which can look kind of silly. But hey, if that's what you're going for and you're more comfortable with it, that is perfectly fine. Again, though, for our criteria here, that's not what we're looking for in terms of cinematic landings. All right, let's go ahead and wait for the next customer. All right, we have what appears to be a Hornet Wildfire coming in for landing, a nose and approach. Gear is already down. You can tell because the wings are folded backwards, so that means the gear is down early. Nice pulling into the air shield. Now they are rotating horizontally, and they are going to stick the landing. Very, very nice. Of course, though, the gear activation of being a little bit early is kind of against our book here. Again, it's not as cinematic as we'd like it to be. You can see the pilot slowly exiting the vessel there. But yeah, overall, very nice, very controlled, early gear deployment, and of course they are crooked, so I will be taking points away from that, so we can expect that to be about an 8 out of 10. Overall, very, very good. Could use a little bit of improvement. Remember, folks, as you're coming in, if you are worried about hitting the ground too hard or whatever like that, make sure you have your gear deployment as you come into the air shield, and you make sure you rotate after you've come through the air shield. That will help you kind of line things up, and then, of course, make sure you're doing it in first person. It just overall makes it more accurate. So I'm going to go ahead. Oh, what do we got here? Small hangar opening up. Was just about to cut the cameras here, but it looks like we got someone taking off. We have a mole. Don't see a lot of moles here on watching your takeoff and landings. That's because most people store their moles off-site. They don't usually pull them from the actual star ports. I don't know why I was blanking on the term there. I had Starfield on the brain for some reason, but star ports. You can see this mole has their VTOLs active. You can tell because those engines on the side are pointed down. You can see those kind of engines there, point on the side. Gear's not up yet, but it is now coming up. I can see the gear coming up, and then there's the rotation of those main engines. Beautiful. Now, they are hovering, which does cost a little bit of points there because that's hesitation, right? You want to lift up, gear up, and then as you push forward, you then rotate your VTOLs just like that. That's exactly what we're looking for, right? But imagine that whole sequence we just saw there, all as one contiguous motion and not being stalled like they were there earlier, where they just kind of held up and lifted there for a little bit and then took off. Very, very solid, though. Very nice. It's nice to see people actually using the proper VTOLs. Of course, you have to on the mole because the mole is extremely heavy. So you actually do have to use the VTOLs to get it going properly. Otherwise, it starts to sink a little bit. And yeah, so very nice there. That overall sequence, just the minor hesitation is the only thing I don't like. Also, the gear could probably come up a little bit earlier than that. But overall, I think I can let that slide just a little bit. Oh, small hangar opening up over here. Someone coming or going, and I can't quite see. I don't see anything quite yet, but yes, on that mole, I would give them a 9 out of 10 on that takeoff. Very good. Very, very excellent takeoff. It's just that hesitation cost them a little bit there. All right. So, ooh, yeah, so we got the other small hangar open up here. So the first one has somebody coming in, and the second one, if I kind of schmooze my way on over, has also somebody coming in. Oh, never mind. The first person said, never mind. I'll come back later. I think I saw in the comments of one of my previous videos, somebody said, yes, calling for ATC. Sees a Fury flying around the starport. Yeah, I'll come back later. I always find that fascinatingly funny. Just the idea that someone maybe potentially sees a Fury and they're like, yeah, I think I'll come back later. All right, so let's wait and see who the customer is for this small hangar that is still remaining open. For some reason, the other one, someone just called the hangar and then just decided to just dip and just leave for whatever reason. It's kind of very strange. Could be someone maybe fat-fingered their call ATC button. I'm not entirely certain. Either way, they decided not to show up. But we are going to see who's going to show up for this one here. Small hangar, what could it be? Well, obviously it could be some type of fighter. It could also be another mole, for example. Moles do fit in those small hangars, even though they are pretty decently sized ships. It could also be a Spirit, despite the fact that the Spirit is a pretty decently sized ship. Yeah, it could totally fit in those hangars too. I mean, that's debatable to a lot of people who own a Spirit as to whether they can actually fit. Of course they can, it's just it doesn't certainly feel like it if you're an owner, which I am. I own an A1, so I definitely know the pain of trying to land those into the smaller hangars. But if we've seen in previous episodes of watching your takeoff and landings, we do have people who get a little bit more creative with it and they come in diagonally rather than just coming straight nose on, and that definitely can help, of course, because that wingspan can be a little bit of a nuisance to get through. Now this person is really taking their time coming in to land. I'm gonna see who is that. Is this the customer? Yes, it is a Drake cutter, and they have their VTOLs active, but I can also see their gear is down at the same time. Now the cutter does have some weird desync issues with its animation, so it's kind of hard to tell whether its gear is actually down or its VTOLs are actually active. I do believe if the gear comes down, it does play the VTOL animations also, even though technically when you're flying it, you don't see it. I know it's weird. It's a little bit desyncy. It's not my normal daily flyer, but I do know that there's some weird desync issues with the gear and VTOL animations. Regardless, the gear being down, as it's shown here, is way too early. And this person is trying to line themselves up, and they're kind of being a little bit hesitant, probably because they are in third person. Remember, folks, I've talked about this in the past. If you want to improve your takeoff and landings and make it much more smoother, you kind of have to try to wean yourself off the third person. Now, you don't have to, but I would recommend it if you're trying to get better at it. As you get better, you could potentially also practice on trying to improve your third person maneuvering with your ship. You have to remember, though, that when you go into third person, it takes you a lot of time to maneuver the camera into position, which can cost you the look of your landing, right? Because you're trying to maneuver the camera into position. You could obviously set camera presets to help you with that, but ultimately at the end of the day, it does take your focus away from the entire landing sequence, which can cause an appearance of hesitation, right? So that's why I recommend, if you want to improve and get better at this rubric of cinematic landing and takeoffs, I recommend you do it in first person and you get good at it in first person, because it'll help you to basically just kind of make the entire motion be a lot more fluid and seamless as you work your way and you practice and get better at it. All right, this person is now, it looks like they are kind of right through the air shield now. Now they're just kind of trying to line themselves up. Looks like they're trying to point their ramp towards the actual elevators, which will make them getting in and out a lot easier. So now they're just lining themselves up, kind of rotates, looks like they leveled themselves out, and then they're slowly now descending into position. Very, very ginger, this pilot, very taking it very, very slowly, which, at the end of the day, you have all the time in the world, folks. It really doesn't matter. For today's show, it does, right? Obviously, this is going to be points taken off for it, but in the grand scheme of things in Star Citizen, if you like to take things slow and you like to cruise on in and take your time, that works perfectly well. As for this landing, lots of hesitation, early gear deployment, right? I do like the fact that they used VTOLs. Oh, massive hangar open up here. We have a reclaimer, an IAE reclaimer taking off here. Now, we didn't get to see the entire sequence. However, we still see the gear is down. Remember, folks, gears can come up and VTOLs are separate on the reclaimer. I know some people got confused the last time I've shown off reclaimers and critiqued them. Some people were like, well, you need to have the gear down and have the VTOLs active. No, you can have VTOLs active separately from the gear. So as you can see, the little foot pads sticking out from the actual VTOLs. Well, currently, if you pull the gear up, it will rotate those engines. But if you hit the VTOL key to switch back to VTOLs on, it will keep the engines pointed downward, but it will retract those little foot pads. Also, check out the name of that guy. The name of that ship. So this is a full-blown owner of this reclaimer. This person actually owns it properly to the point where they were able to name theirs. So this is not a credit bought one. This is actually a fully owned one. Good day to you, sir, as they turn their gear off, which now flips the VTOLs off. And they are at a decent altitude to do that, although they're probably going to be flying horizontal for a little bit because the reclaimer is heavy. It's a heavy boy. So going back to that cutter, I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10 for a lot of that hesitation. Also, I hear somebody taking off. Cutless Black, zooming out of the atmosphere. Always a nice ship to see. Also nice to see that the gear is already up at that point. Of course, I didn't see the full sequence, so I'm not going to give them a rating. That reclaimer also didn't quite see the full sequence. However, I did. Of course, it's very easy to see the gear is still down the entire way. There's not a lot of hesitation there, and we didn't really miss much, so it's not hard to give them a rating. Having that gear down the entire time, I would have to give them a point taken off for that, right? Because they can definitely switch that at the right moment and make it look a little bit better, and also while still keeping VTOL as they take off. So I'll give them a 9 out of 10 because overall it was very controlled. It was very nice, but it could be better. Remember, you can pull that gear up and you can flip VTOLs on. It will still do the same thing. You just look a lot better. All right, let's wait for the next customer, shall we? Okay, small hangar once again opening up. Let's take a look and see inside. Do we have somebody coming or do we have somebody going? We have somebody on the way to this hangar here. So let's go ahead and pull the camera out a little bit. And here we go. Here's our customer of the day. And we have what appears to be a Hornet Ghost coming in. with a chin turret attached to them. Ah, interesting. Yeah, Hornet Ghost with a bunch of extra attachments. Coming in hot. Woo, look at that. Almost beefs it right into the side of the hangar coming in hot there. At least they recovered, backed it up, and then look at that gear deployment right before they hit the actual pad. Indeed, they hit the pad so hard, I don't even know if the gear deployed fast enough, though. The Hornet's gear is actually pretty fast, so that does work. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a prisoner escape here. You can see this person is in all yellow. That is a prisoner outfit. We have a naughty person in this Hornet Ghost out here. It looks like they came into Lorville. I don't know if they actually got rid of their crime stat. They possibly did. Maybe that's why they're coming here. But if they don't, the security guards are going to be shooting at them the moment they step out of that ship like that. So yeah, nah. You don't see too many prisoners here at Lorville. Definitely not a popular tourist destination for escapees. But yeah, that Hornet coming in super hot, controlled and, basically got it under control and then brought themselves back into the hangar and then pulled their gear down right before they touched down. But it was really, really hard. So those two slight missteps, I'll take some points off. So that is definitely going to be an 8 out of 10. Really cool, really solid. Definitely this person has flown the Hornet quite a lot, especially since it's a Ghost. So I imagine this person probably enjoys a lot of PvP with that thing. Regardless, that there's some missteps there. A little bit too hot. They were able to correct it, but then they came at, whoa, well, it just pushed me. That was very strange. But yeah, 8 out of 10. Anyway, let's just move on. That was very strange. Okay, small hangar opening up again. I'm going to turn on my engines and make my way on over. Is it that Hornet pilot taking off, or is it something else? It is. We have a Vanguard Sentinel on the deck. You can tell it's a Sentinel because it's got the white and blue markings on it, which denotes it being a Vanguard Sentinel. It's the E-Warfare version of the Vanguard. As they rotate and, I guess, apparently bonk their engines on. Oh, there they go. Off they go. Okay, so that was probably some lag we saw there. Some hesitation due to the lag. Look at that gear coming up. You can see the wings fold out, and they're like an eagle leaving the nest to go hunt down some prey. And you can see the contrails as they take off. Beautiful. So I'm going to chop that up to lag. I think that was lag that caused them to bump the ground like that and then immediately shoot up in the air, because I don't think that was actually intentional on their part. My guess is they lifted up to a acceptable height, rotated, pushed their way out, and then geared up exactly the way they wanted. But for us, it looked like they made contact because the server was lagging a little bit there. So overall, that would be a 10 out of 10 in my book if it wasn't for the lag. The lag kind of made it a little bit messy there, but 10 out of 10 for me because that's exactly what we're looking for. That was an excellent demonstration of the Vulture style takeoff where you just bolt out of the hangar, right, like that. So you lift up, rotate, you push your way out, and you gear up on your way out as well too. No hesitation, no fuss, just enjoy it, right? That's an excellent, excellent 10 out of 10. All right, let's move on. All right, medium-sized hangar here is opening up, or at least the slightly larger hangar. I think it's a small hangar. The other ones are extra small. I think that's the actual dimensions for it. But we have a Cutless already up in the air. VTOLs are active. The gear is down. Oh, gear is coming up. I can see the animation. Gear is coming up. Are they going to do this all in one nice smooth? Yes, they are. Smooth motion, rotating. VTOLs are now rotating, and away they go. That's a beautiful demonstration of a 10 out of 10 takeoff from this Cutless pilot. Exactly what you want to see here, folks. Lifting up, gear up, making sure VTOL is still active to give you that extra lift upwards, and then they push off, and as they are pushing forward, they can turn VTOLs off. So it looks like it's something natural, like something you'd see out of a movie. That was beautiful, an excellent demonstration of a 10 out of 10 takeoff. Let's go ahead and make our way back, because I think I heard something possibly on the way in. I could be hallucinating things here. Yeah, I definitely probably am, because I do not see any of the hangars opening. I thought I heard something, but it was probably just coming from that Cutless. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and cut it here, and let's wait for our next customer. All right, small hangar is opening up here. Let's go ahead and push on in and see what we've got here. Something on the deck. Yes, indeed. What is that? That is another Cutless, actually, in the extra small hangars. They're interesting. No VTOL activation this time. Their ramp is open. Let's see. Can we take a peek at the landing gear here? I can't quite see it. The gear is up. Yep, as you can see, the animation just finished right there, right before we got visual of it. So the animation was a little bit late there. So no VTOL activation and slightly late gear retraction. You can see the sun is now sunning down here, folks. And I think this is going to be a good place to end things off for that Cutless, because there's a slight misstep there with no VTOL activation and a late gear retraction. I'll give them an 8. A lot of 8s, a lot of 9s, and a few 10s today. Nothing really super bad. No crazy impacts, no crashes today. Like I said, it seems like folks have been getting pretty good at their takeoff and landings. It's been a long time since I've really seen something catastrophic really happen. Indeed, coming to the spaceports, I'm seeing less and less debris on the ground. And that's a consequence of probably not as many newer players as we normally get. Probably we'll see a lot more when we get a new patch like 323, of course. But also, just a lot of people in general are just getting better at their takeoff and landings, just overall. So yeah, maybe when the new patch comes in, 323, we'll see, yeah, a lot more debris, a lot more destruction and death as players are getting used to the model, because we're going to definitely get a lot of new players in, and of course a lot of returning players, and I'm sure that's going to cause all levels of chaos and mayhem at these spaceports. But until then, while we're in between patches, we get a lot of veterans coming and going, so we get to see very tame takeoff and landings. While they still look phenomenal, at least in my book, they are generally tame. We don't get a lot of those real headline-grabbing style, explosions and whatnot. But it is what it is, and it's always still a joy to watch. This is why I love doing this, folks. It's fun watching you all do your takeoff and landings, and eventually we have to put an end to it, at least for this season, right? This is the second to last episode of watching your takeoff and landings before I take a short break. In the last one, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something a little bit special. If you're on my Discord, you'll see a series of announcements pop up soon this coming week, and it will give you an opportunity to show off your own skills as a way of closing out this season of watching your takeoff and landings. I know a lot of you really have said in the comments, I really would love to show off my skills. Are you going to do a competition or something like that? Eventually, maybe, we'll see. I'm still kind of thinking about it, working on it, but as a stopgap for the final season, I will give you all the opportunity to try and show off your skills. For the final season, I'll have, like I said, some announcements and whatnot, and I will post times and also the server that I am on, and that'll give you all the opportunity to try to show off your skills. Come on to the area and check it out. Alright folks, that's it for me today, watching your takeoff and landings. If you did find today's video entertaining and informative, please leave a like, as it really does help out the channel. And of course, if you want to watch more videos like this and much, much more down the line, be sure to subscribe as well. But until next time, fly safe, because you never know who might be watching you, and I'll see you all in the black.